Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of Justice for All Now. I'm your host, Hannah Zuberi. Thank you for watching us on Muslim Network TV, America's only Muslim focused network. You can always watch us on 24/7 on Samsung Galaxy 19, Amazon Fire, Roku TV, and Apple TV. Today, I have a very special guest. Dr. Erkin Siddiq I consider him a personal mentor in the fight for justice for our Uyghur sisters and brothers. Dr. Erkin Siddiq was born in the city of Aksu in East Turkestan, which is located, as you know, in occupied northern part, what is now considered the Xinjiang district, Xinjiang Autonomous Region in China. Um, and as we all have been talking about for a very, very long time, this is an occupied region. This is not China. This used to be a country called East Turkestan. After earning his BS degree in electrical engineering at Xinjiang University, he served as a university lecturer and a domestic and international visiting scholar in China, Japan, till the late 80s. Dr. Erkin earned his master's degree in physics in May 1990 from California State University in Northridge, and his PhD degree in electrical engineering with an emphasis on nonlinear optics in 1995 from the University of California, Davis. He's a rock star. He's been people when that area of East Turkestan was open. He was invited to speak at so many different events. This is a person that was a rock star of the Uyghur people and still is, mashallah. After engaging in research at UC Davis and the Sandia National Labs in California as a postdoc for 1.5 years on laser traps and nonlinear optical devices, he worked in 3 different high-tech companies in Silicon Valley in research and development, as well as engineering managerial roles in various fields of optics, especially passive optical components. He joined NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory at Caltech in January 2004. He currently works as a senior optical engineer on various space telescope projects, such as WFIRST for direct detection of habitable exoplanets. Wow, that's interesting. And he's authored and he's co-authored and or authored many, many publications on this topic. But today we are going to be talking to Dr. Erkin about the Uyghur genocide. He is not only an accomplished NASA scientist, he is somebody who has been an activist, an advocate for this cause, and someone who has really worked. He has 2 full-time jobs. His other full-time job, aside from NASA, is working on preserving his people's culture, language, and advocating for their rights. He's written several hundred articles in Uyghur language on personal development, bilingual education, child education, religion. And the reason why, because of the oppression, the persecution of the Uyghur people, there aren't enough resources. And we're going to be talking to him about that as well as projects that he heads on Uyghur language and culture. And he's published these in Uyghur on websites in East Turkestan until all the Uyghur websites were closed down in 2017. So currently, there is none of that years of work is available to people, especially the people in East Turkestan, in their own language. The other thing that we wanted to point out about Dr. Siddiq is that he's written and prepared about 15 books. He printed 7 of them and distributed them for free as a charity. And he's published his remaining 8 books in PDF format. Starting from early 2018, Dr. Siddiq gave lectures in the US and around the world on the current Uyghur tragedies and the Chinese government's genocide of Uyghurs in both Uyghur language and English. Many of you may have seen this, how do we call it? PowerPoint presentations. And I can vouch for this fact that his many PowerPoint presentations that have been prepared on this topic are all based on his original PowerPoint presentation that he presented. I remember even here in the DC area, he presented to a crowd of hundreds of people. And based on that, many advocates and activists have taken his work and, mashallah, spread that education throughout the country. So it's my real pleasure to welcome Dr. Siddiq to the show and really get to talk to him. We're going to be concentrating on a couple of topics in today's episode. Number one is going to be, under COVID-19, the use of Uyghur and other Turkic peoples' bodies as experiments by CCP, as well as the latest updates from the ground, and anything else that, Dr. Erkin is a resource for the world on Uyghur culture, language, advocacy. So I'm really excited to get this conversation started. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Hannah. Thank you very much for a generous introduction.
Oh, alhamdulillah. People need to know like your brilliance and mashallah learn from. There's so much to learn from you. And, I hope others, especially those who are interested in science and laser technology, can also tap into you because sometimes we do box people and, into advocacy boxes, and we don't realize they have many other really like education and brilliance behind them, mashallah. But today we're going to be focused on your work, especially for the Uyghur cause and how you got started. I know, please do share with us your network. People need to understand where the news that you get is coming from, and the fact that you were a really popular speaker in East Turkestan.
Yes, thank you. Basically, the people in East Turkestan, most people knew me before this current genocide started in 2017. Mm-hmm. And right now, the people living in abroad also know me. Mm-hmm. In fact, I traveled around and went to all the places where there is a large Uyghur community. I used to go at least 5 countries each year until this year to meet with people and talk to them. So I know most of them. Because of them, I have a strong trust from our community. Whatever information they get, they send it to me. And mostly from people abroad who have relatives back home. They are still keeping some contact with them. And some of them from China directly too. I just got several pieces of information in the last couple of days from someone in China. Basically, they trust me, and their hope is for me to publicize the information so that we can get some international attention to what's going on in East Turkestan. Should I continue? So right now, currently the biggest thing going on there is the vaccine development for China virus. That's the main thing is going on. As you recall, in March of this year, the China virus basically broke out in Wuhan. And China isolated that area, locked it down, and did some control. But recently, the whole focus shifted. One is to East Turkestan, another one is to Hong Kong. Now, one should think very carefully. Why East Turkestan and Hong Kong? The East Turkestan has been relatively calm in March, April time period. But suddenly, this virus showed up in Uzbekistan again. This is related to an international race about developing a vaccine. Right now, there's several countries like Russia, India, and China announced that they have developed vaccine and gone through phase 2, for example. Other developed countries like the US, Europe, they all also developing the vaccine. China wanted to get the large market share in this market, and they moved their experimentation to East Turkestan and Hong Kong. The latest news I got is like China already vaccinated a lot of people, Uyghur people first. After that, isolated them to separate rooms. A lot of people were removed from their home and to a concentrated facilities, one person in each room. After that, they're giving traditional Chinese medicine and doing exam, two kinds of exam. One is taking some liquid from the mouth, and the other one is taking blood. I was told that most people are taking blood once a day or twice a day and doing this examination. The very sad things that happened.
What does that mean, taking blood? Are they vomiting
No,
blood?
no, the authorities taking blood from those Uyghur people to do testing, to see the effect of the vaccination and the development of this Chinese virus.
Okay.
This kind of process, if you imagine, you vaccinate people first, after that you infect people with virus, and now you see if that infection that you did is working or not. If it is not working, that means vaccination worked. So China is doing this kind of experiment on Uyghur people in the whole area, actually. Right now, as far as I know, the most Uyghur communities are locked down in the whole Turkestan. It is more than 30 days now. It started as a 14 days event for 2 weeks, but now it's extended for one fold. But after that, the Uyghur people were not allowed to go outside still. And one very sad news that I got 2 days ago, in Yengsar County in southern East Turkestan, the middle and high school students also used for this experiment.
Oh, wow.
They were just taken from the school and isolated, and they're given shots, and now they're testing those people to see the effect. Some people asked me in Twitter why they don't use Uyghur people in concentration camps. Right now, there are at least 3 million Uyghur people in concentration camps. The problem is the people in concentration camps are very weak, mentally, psychologically, and physically. They haven't gone through all kind of torture. Those people are not normal anymore. There is a report given by the Bitter Winter online journal. They reported that most people who are in concentration camps now cannot tell good from bad. They were destroyed mentally completely. So you cannot use those people for experimentation, for biological experimentation. That's why they are using the healthy people from school, middle and high schools. Just in Yengsar County alone, I was told about 1,000 students are being used for this experimentation right now.
And these are Chinese medicine.
Traditional Chinese medicine. They call it traditional Chinese medicine. I have about up to like 10 pictures of the Chinese medicine. And the package of the medicine does not have any wording, no explanation, no ingredients. Nothing is written about that, except in one cases, the material of the package is written, saying it's a very good material, keeps from the heat or something like that. But no information about the medicine itself. Another aspect is there are different types of medicines for different age groups.
Okay.
One for less than 6 years old, another one is from 6 to 16 years old, another one is about 16 years old. And recently I got the information that the county level official or above, given a different type of medicines. Okay. So I heard about at least 4 types of medicines for age and age limit, and also the authorities. And in addition to that, I have like 6, 7 photos of the different medicines. So the people are forced to drink this medicine every day. Every day. And I put out some video for the kids being forced to drink that medicines, and they're being tested too. So China is developing both vaccines and also some kind of Chinese medicines. One should know that China has a long history about their traditional medicine. But if you compare their medicines with the Western medicine, for example, in the US, there's no single Chinese medicine that passed the FDA approval. They don't pass it. They don't have enough experimental evidence that those medicines work. So now the Uyghurs became the object of these medicines, also the vaccines too. So this is a horrible, and Uyghur people are hungry. There's a very strong discrimination about the food distribution. All the sellers of the foods are Han Chinese. Uyghur people not allowed to sell foods like fruits or vegetables. So all the products produced by Uyghur people are wasted. I have several pictures and videos about that too.
So when did this start happening?
Just the last 1 month. So now you see, like we have photos that sheep's eating the fruits, for example, apple, peach, that kind of fruits, for example, and also the cow eating vegetables, long beans, for example, because the Uyghur people could not sell what they produced; they just wasted their products. All the distributors are Han Chinese. Uyghurs are not allowed to do that. So I got the information that some people called to get foods because they had to call. They're locked down from outside. All the doors are locked from the outside. Nobody can get out. So they have to call. When they call, the Chinese distributors can recognize who are Uyghurs, who are Hans, and they are refusing to give foods to Uyghur people. So there's a starvation. To what level, we don't know. The Chinese government are controlling all this information as a top state secret. They don't release any information. We're only getting very small pieces here and there. And the situation can be very bad. We got a video from 2 people. Basically, they said they got enough. They don't want to live anymore. That kind of video. So the situation is very bad right now. Because the Chinese government does not allow any reporter, or they don't allow any kind of information to go out. It's very hard to know what is the real situation is, how bad it is. But all the information I got, it points to a direction that Chinese government is experimenting their vaccines and the medicines with Uyghur people.
And this is something that getting the echo. So this is when I saw this, and I saw some of these photos that you posted on your Twitter account as well. I wanted to know a little bit more about these medicines. Are these things that you had ever seen in your childhood? When you were growing up over there, was this common? In some cultures, it's common to take traditional medicine. Were these something that you had seen growing up, or is this something totally new that you've never even experienced before?
No, there were 3 types of medicines when I was a little kid. It lasted all along until very recently. The Western medicine and the Chinese traditional medicine and the Uyghur medicine as well. There is a Uyghur hospitals in Urumqi, for example. My sister used to work there. So we had the 3 types of medicines. But as I said earlier, the Chinese medicines never made to abroad, like Western countries. As I said, it does not pass FDA approval at all because no evidence that it works. But in China, all 3 medicines existed. Uyghurs had a very strong tradition in medicine as well. There's a very famous book written in China about Chinese traditional medicine about 2,000 years ago. The 1 chapter is about Uyghur medicine, actually. So Uyghur has a very good tradition on that one as well. But the thing is, when you are forced to take that medicine twice a day, we have a lot of small package that people are forced to take two bags in a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And as I said, there's no any information about the ingredients, what those medicines are made of, but the Uyghur people are forced to drink it. So this whole operation is very suspicious. Basically, the Chinese government is using the Uyghur people for a medical experiment, both Chinese medicine and the vaccination for China virus. That everything that I got recently points to that direction.
So, and I hear you refer it to as the China virus. And so this is something that I know there's a lot of pushback against that as well, from especially Chinese people who live in the United States, who think that that may be something that is targeting them as well. Can you explain to us what you mean when you use that term?
Yeah, I think the U.S. will publish their findings pretty soon, within this year. Right now, the U.S. got a lot of information. There are people who worked in the Wuhan lab, for example, came out, as they gave a lot of information. So all the things that we hear so far points to a conclusion that this virus came from China. So I have been using as a CCP virus because the Chinese authorities hid the information in March. That's the reason that the virus spread to the whole world and it created such a calamity right now. So we will know for sure by the end of this year, after the election, I think, that the virus came from China. I strongly believe that. That's why I use the term Chinese virus or CCP virus.
You're a scientist yourself. So this is something that I wanted to also make sure our audience understands this, that you are not coming from a background of just activism, or news or something like that. You, as a scientist, believe in evidence, believe in how, just basic scientific method. And yet this is very important for people to know that your background, because you're not just saying any of this without that methodology in your mind.
It's not, actually, my background is a completely different area. Mm-hmm. It's not in the biological science or medical science. It's not. But I grew up in China. The one thing that I know is nothing the Chinese government says is true. They hide everything. Mm-hmm. And in relation to this Chinese virus, same thing happened. They lied to the whole world. And a lot of other information, like about Uyghurs, about organ harvesting, about human rights, about the concentration camps and bioweapon experiments, they lie about everything. Mm-hmm. So maybe you noticed recently that's why Secretary Pompeo point out a strategy: distrust and verify. When dealing with Chinese authorities, distrust and verify, because they lie about everything. I grew up in this country. I know that for firsthand. And right now, I know what level of destructions Uyghur people got. But China still paints a very beautiful picture about East Turkestan, about Uyghur people. Yes. Nothing is true.
So let's talk a little bit about the propaganda.
Yes.
A lot of times we see these beautiful young women dancing. And this is something that is so offensive sometimes when you look at it, even though I'm not Uyghur, but when I look at those pictures, it seems like it's so dehumanizing that anytime you want to show a culture, the only thing you show about is people just these dancing. And it's usually young women. It's very objectifying. Can you talk a little bit about that propaganda?
Yes, right now, as most of you know, everything about Uyghur is gone, like religion, language, culture, even the people. I say even the people for one reason. Right now, if you visit East Turkestan and go to some tourist attraction, you see people who are dancing Uyghur dance, singing Uyghur songs, playing Uyghur music. but they are not Uyghurs. What happened is all the famous Uyghur artists were forced to teach Han Chinese. They assigned people to each famous Uyghur artist. They assigned people Han Chinese to learn their skills, the Uyghur musical instrument, singing and dancing. After they learned, the Uyghur artists were get rid of. They are in the concentration camps. There are a few still outside right now. Recently they are singing, and you can see that the people who do not know Uyghur cannot notice what happened to them. They are mentally destroyed already. Like just 2 days ago, I got a video from a famous singer. He gave us an introduction speech at the beginning before he sang. He made so many mistakes. It never happened before. He's a great guy. But I can see from his face, from his eyes, and from the way he talks, and the mistakes he made in couple, like about 5-6 sentences, how many mistakes he made in Uyghur language, I can feel what his current mental status is. It's completely destroyed. So now, if you go to East Turkestan, go to the tourist attractions, and you see people dancing, singing, they're all Han Chinese. I have many videos and the pictures of that. So
dressed in Uyghur outfits, and
that's right.
How does a lay person who may never, because this is some propaganda that even I can say I fell for many years ago when I did not know about Uyghur people, and I always noticed whenever they talked about Muslims in China, they would always show Hui people, and then they would talk about East Turkestan, but they wouldn't talk about they would talk about Xinjiang, right?
Yes.
So that was a propaganda also, that no pictures of Uyghur people, because you can tell. And I tell this story many times, that when I first met some Uyghur people, and especially when I first met Sister Aideen's dad, I was shocked, because when I had gone to go meet and interview someone from that region, and in my mind, from the years and years of propaganda, and even time, magazines, Western magazines, all the time the pictures used to be of people who look extremely Chinese. And when I went in there, I didn't know too much. So when I went in to meet him, I was very, very taken back that he looked more like my husband's uncles than he does a Chinese person. So his facial features are so much closer to people who come from that part of Pakistan than he does to Chinese. So this is something that is been a propaganda technique for a very, very long time. And now you're saying that even so, how would a lay person be able to tell the difference?
In the facial features, Uyghurs are very different from Han Chinese. We can distinguish in one glance Uyghur people, but for foreign people it might be harder. But just from the way they sing and dance, you can see that some foreigner learning a native culture kind of thing. So you can see right away actually. So those people are now picked up the Uyghur culture. I didn't mention yet even the food. The people who makes foods on the streets, Uyghur foods, most of them are Chinese too. So China basically replaced Uyghur people who are keeping the Uyghur culture with Han Chinese. They transferred the culture, art, the things, but not the people. Recently, someone visited East Turkestan from Netherlands, and he came back and talked to one of my friends there about what he saw. It is very shocking. He could barely meet Uyghur people on streets in Urumqi, Kashgar, Khotan, and big cities. And only the people who could meet is the elderly people, and the women, and very young children. No middle-aged Uyghur people. In Kashgar, that tourist met many Uyghurs, but they all like a Uyghur girl marrying Han Chinese.
Yes.
So the husband is Han Chinese, the wife are Uyghurs, and some of them even have a child with them. born between the two. So this is the situation. There's one big mystery right now about Uyghur population. And if you recall, in 2018, I gave a presentation at DC. I put out some numbers about this. The Chinese government officials' number about Uyghur population is 11.3 million in 2017. But in September of 2018, one Chinese government official said in a TV interview with Al Jazeera that altogether there are 6 or 7 million Uyghurs in East Turkestan. Is what he said.
Yeah, I remember when.
And that presentation, I said, this is a warning sign. What happened to the rest of the people? Why from 11.3 million, suddenly in 1 year, the number reduced to 6 or 7 million? Where did the rest of the people go? Right now we have the situation. They are not in cities, they are not in the streets, they are not in the farms. I have many videos that the Uyghur people working in the farm. They're all, most are females, no men. What happened to this man? We had what happened to the other part of the population? I have these big questions that I cannot find the answer yet. The situation is much tragic than most people think. Right now, the international media are still using like up to 1 million or more than 1 million Uyghur people were detained. This is not true. Up to 1 million Uyghurs were detained. This word came out in January of 2018. After that, the Dr. Adrian Zenz published several papers about the sizes of the concentration camps. It grew by several factors from 2018. And the international media still uses up to 1 million Uyghur people are detained. This is not true. There is one article by Human Rights Watch published in January 15th of 2018. In that article, they pointed out up to 1 million Uyghurs were detained. But this number never changed. The thing is, I learned a lot of things from the direct contact like that, but the international media picking it up after 2 years, 2 years later.
This is something that I really wanted to talk about with you, because this is a big beef bone to pick that I have, is that when people like you who have, and people say, oh, it's unverified, and this is I have a lot of respect for the work Adrian Zenz is doing, and thank you to him for bringing attention to this when a lot of people did not take your word for and the sanctity of your word was not as important as his word. And not to pit you guys against each other, but the fact is that you told us about Uyghur people being transported from the camps into forced labor camps into mainland China. You showed us pictures of trains covered up with black, so nobody could see inside who was being transported into. And this was more than 2 years ago. So what if people had taken your word seriously? And I remember walking in with the Save Uyghur campaign. We've been going to Congress and being reprimanded. Don't use 3 million, use 1 million. They're not 2 million. Don't use that. SubhanAllah, these are human beings, number one. And number two, the people who know are telling you that millions are missing. And yet we need to have an AP report come out to for the world to believe, and even then only the Western world to believe. Where is the Arab world? Where is the Muslim world? Where is Pakistan? Where is all these other allies that should be standing up for our brothers and sisters? So this is something that really, really upsets me, and and maybe people should now learn and to pick up on what you are saying and really examine it closely, because you're getting the word right from the streets in East Turkestan.
Correct. Yeah, the Uyghur people, we are in a very disadvantageous situation. Now that there are some people talking about labeling the Chinese government, the CCP regime, as a terrorist organization, as a criminal organization, And Secretary Pompeo also said, distrust and verify, because the China lies. The whole world knows as fact, but still they trust the Chinese propaganda than they do us, what we provide. The people, like somebody wrote me yesterday, and at the end he said, Brother Erkin, don't reveal my identity. If you do, Chinese government will kill me. So if someone reveals any information about Uyghur, he will or she will get executed. That's the situation in China right now. And we get the information like that. The people who send me information, they basically risking their lives. I think I lost 2 people at the age of 20 plus years. And they sent me information and they told me they may get killed within a month. And they never contacted me later on. This is the current situation. And China does not allow foreign reporters, international investigators. Even in East Turkestan, starting in 2018, even the Pakistani students were kicked out from East Turkestan. They didn't want any foreigners in East Turkestan because the Chinese authorities are worried about information to be sending out. But the community, international media, still only uses this number up to 1 million. Now, we have a report from the Bitter Winter, which says more than 500,000 Uyghurs were secretly moved to Han provinces using freight trains, specially prepared buses at nights. You see, in Urumqi, the passenger trains stopped service in October of 2017. What that means is the Chinese government started moving the Uyghur people to other places in China at that time. The Bitter Winters reported 500,000 people. We have another report which says more than 500,000 kids were separated from parents and put in detention camps. And now we are getting a lot of videos and pictures about the organ harvesting from Uyghur children and adults. So the international community and international media have not picked up about this kind of situation yet. And they still says up to 1 million Uyghur. We lost between 3 to 5 million Uyghurs already to prisons, concentration camps, forced labor factories, and the children camps, and the 2 other parts of China. The very sad truth about the Uyghurs being sent to other parts of China is they are being used for organ harvesting business and bioweapon development experiments, Uyghur people. I got some information from a very high level, the central government officials about this. The Uyghurs who are moved to Han provinces are being used for bioweapon development experiments. But international media has not picked up about this because China operates in a very secret way. There is no proof. There's no proof, but it's happening. And I don't know when the world will know the truth. By the time the world knows the truth, I don't know what's the situation where people will be. We are losing so much people at the moment.
Why, and this is something that I wanted to ask you, explain to the audience why news can't come out from there. A lot of people assume that just like in other countries where internet is free and available and there's no censorship, many countries there's no censorship. You can say what you want, things are, and they come out. Can you explain to us why is it so hard to get news out of China?
Yes, there is one report also by the Bitter Winter. Mm-hmm. They interviewed several guard officials. The officials were sent from the other part of China, couple thousand of them, to East Turkestan to train the guards over there. So on their way to concentration camps, they passed through 3 checkpoints. In each of them, they searched thoroughly, At the third checkpoint, the cell phone, mobile phones, all taken away. So even the top level concentration camp officials came from the other part of China and went to the concentration camps. They are not allowed to have a phone because the government worried that they can take pictures using the phone. There's a report on that in detail that people can read it. That's the current situation. And those guards not allowed to talk loudly with each other inside the concentration camps, so that the detainees could not hear them. And they can only communicate with each other using the walkie-talkie, no iPhone, no other tools. And also the detainees are not allowed to talk to each other. No talking. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like that. This is the current situation. There's another report by Peter Winter, which interviewed one Chinese worker who went to East Turkestan from other part of China to work for like 1 or 3 months. When he arrived at East Turkestan, he had to go through a gate, just like a custom, going from one country to another. He had to pass through a gate like that. He was thoroughly searched, his phone was searched, and his phone was installed with an app by the police. This is an app that tracks the movement of the person everywhere, every time, all the time. So one Monday, he saw the Chinese flag raising ceremony somewhere. And he thought it's very interesting. He took several pictures. And immediately several plainclothes policemen came and arrested him. Kept him 3 days in custody, searched his phone, erased all the pictures, and warned him if he takes pictures again while he is in East Turkestan, any picture, he will be put in the jail.
And this is what police, right? It's called Batigan. How do you pronounce that? There's a special police for that region.
We have several police, like the armed police and armed police, regular police, and the assistant police, kind of. The guards in the concentration camps are like assistant police. They are not regular employees. They just temporarily hired by the government, kind of. So you see, this is how the Chinese government treated the Han Chinese. Working in East Turkestan as a worker, and also the Han Chinese officials who went to East Turkestan to train the concentration camp guards. This is how the government treated those people. Now imagine how we can get a real picture. After this Chinese virus came about, I was worried so much, because if it gets spread in the concentration camps, by the way, we have some numbers, like in each concentration camps, more than 10,000, 20,000 people in each camps. It's very crowded. In a small cell, 60 people. They even cannot sleep at night. They have to take turns, 2 or 3 shifts. Each group is 2 hours. They're sleeping like that. And the one article just came up 2 days ago by Kadnur Sadek. She was a teacher in concentration camps. I suggest everybody to read it. Look at what's the situation in concentration camps. Exactly. So if the Chinese virus spreads there, the whole people die. I heard in one camp, it indeed happened, so that the guards didn't want to go to that part of the concentration camp. So they selected some concentration camp detainees to take care of the sick part, the healthy part and the sick part. They split the concentration camp into 2 parts. This happened. And we don't have any information how many Uyghurs have died because of that kind of reason.
And you wouldn't know, because the numbers are so, they play with the numbers, and then there are incarceration sites built next to the camps. So literally you could incarcerate the bodies immediately and no one would know better and that area is not open to anybody. I remember you showed us a picture of a detention camp way out in the desert, thousands of miles away from anything. If anybody nobody can escape. What happens there, nobody knows. It is Now, these are a lot of things. Now, we've talked about a lot, and we talk about this a lot on this show as well. What can we do? Just a reminder to everybody: the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act is in Congress. There's in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be strongly pushing it out. We have advocacy meetings set up with many staffers on the Hill. So if you have been worried and you watch this and you learn from here and you want to get involved, please message us and we'll set up a meeting with your congressional offices. We can help you. The Uyghur American Association, Uyghur Human Rights Project can help you, and we have materials ready for you to take to take to your congressional staffers, so you can really advocate so that forced labor is not being used. So this is something I just wanted to remind people who are watching this. This is something that you can do today. So at least the clothes that you wear in this country, in the United States, are not being made by enslaved labor of our Uyghur brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
Now,
that would be great. Thank you so much.
another thing that I wanted to ask you, we talk about the problem a lot. Let's talk about some of your solutions. I know some of your solutions are out of the box, but I really want to hear them.
Yes, the one big issue that everybody should pay attention is the atrocity in East Turkestan in right now came to such a severe level, but there is no any action from the UN. UN Human Rights Commission. They are so quiet.
Mhm.
The US is leading the world about putting pressure on Chinese government to stop the atrocity, but it is not working. People need to understand how the Chinese, the authority works. They don't care about the pressure. They don't care about the statement. They only care when something really like an economic thing or something else happens to them. Otherwise, they don't care. So in all this, starting January of 2017, China started this genocide process, and international pressure didn't stop. We have pressure here and there, but the Chinese government didn't care. They are implementing their master plan as it is, and the current situation is so bad. As I said, even the Chinese government officials said there are 6 or 7 million Uyghurs. They immediately lose 4 to 5 million Uyghurs right away. So we can only stop this atrocity when the UN or other international bodies send an investigation team to East Turkestan and can conduct a truth-finding mission there, and stations there to watch what's going on. Stop the Chinese government that way. Otherwise, nothing works. Nothing worked.
So how does that happen, Dr. Erkin, with China being on the Human Rights Commission at the UN? I mean, it's atrocious, but China is one of the members of the UN Human Rights Commission.
Yes, it is another tragedy of the world in 21st century. Putting China in a UN Human Rights Commission, that's a joke. It should never happen. Mm-hmm. China can be put as a leading organization of the terrorist organization, for example, or criminal organizations, but not a human rights organization. That's another stain of the 21st century, I would call it. And it's a shame. It's a shame to the whole world that we are in a situation like this right now. And nobody can do anything about the Uyghur atrocity because of the Chinese arm is so long. Mm-hmm. It reaches everywhere, and they can silence a lot of people, a lot of countries. And the UN is doing nothing about Uyghur people. Only the US putting some pressure, but it's not working.
So economic boycott is like hit them where their pockets is, right?
That's right.
Holding, and this is something else that we really want to. We're part of the End Uyghur Forced Labor coalition, and the coalition is going after every member of every corporation that has business in that region. because normally workers' rights unions and labor rights campaigns ask the company to better the situation for the laborers. But even they know in this case it's so atrocious, and nothing can stop, nothing can really whitewash what is happening over there. So they are asking people to pull out completely, and that has never, like, I was speaking and we had a show about this. We were talking to workers' rights um, activists, and they said we have never done this before. But because every part of the supply chain is tainted by enslaved labor, they have to tell the companies to pull out completely. And this is the type of pressure, you know, you can, and every one of those of you who are watching has the capacity to vote with your dollar, with your rupee, with your, you know, whatever currency, dirham. Even if your countries are siding with China, grassroots is what can change the perception. If people just stop buying these goods that are made there and hit them in their pocket just around the world, that is when things will change. Otherwise, you know, as much as advocacy efforts that are being tried from the US, you know, with the hands tied behind our backs at the United Nations, this is something that no one is stopping any one of you from doing.
That's
Um,
right.
and this is so, you know, we just have 80 seconds left to the show. I thank you so much, Dr. Erkin, for being here. Please follow him. Please follow his work, his Uyghur Foundation, where he's preserving the Uyghur language, culture from being wiped out from this world. We urge you to support them. Give your money over here. A lot of people ask us, where can we donate to help Uyghur people? Well, this is a project that you can help at least sustain this culture and language for the next generation. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for being here and watching us on Muslim Network TV.
Walaikum assalam, and thank you very much, Sister Hannah, giving me this opportunity. This means a lot to us, and we will remember this forever.